Call to order the Lowell City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, December 7th at 7 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett.
Here.
Councilor Harris.
Here.
Councilor Stratus.
Present.
Councilor Weathers.
Here.
Councilor Myers is absent.
We have a quorum. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the agenda. Mr. Cawley, you have anything new that you want to add?
No changes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Next up is the consent agenda, including the check register for November, financial statement for October, approval of the minutes for the regular meeting executive session on November 16th. We have a motion to approve, or anybody want to hold anything out?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dale, second by Maureen. To approve the check register. All those in favor of check register of the consent agenda for check register for November, financial statement for October, approval of minutes for the executive meeting and executive session for November 16th, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Public comments. We have any public comments?
No,
Not hearing, not seeing any. Council comments. Not hearing, not seeing any. Next up is the city administrator's report. And that is on page 70 of the packet. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everybody. Provide a few updates on the library renovation project. The architect and I are having weekly construction progress meetings. He is working on completing a full set of architectural drawings, as well as a project manual that's going to have the specifications for our project. I obtained the city attorney review on some of the legal aspects of this project manual. He gave me his opinion today that everything meets the state procurement code requirements. We did have 2 minor changes, but we have the legal review out of the way. So once the full set of architectural drawings are completed and the project manual with all the specifications are done, we'll have everything we need to start soliciting bids from general contractors. Meeting regularly with Hummel Consulting. There's a letter in here that she helped me draft on a fundraiser campaign through the end of the year. I would like to receive signatures from each member of city council. If you could just sign on this blank piece of paper with this marquee or Sharpie marker, and then I'm going to take a picture and put it on that letter, and I'd like to send that out tomorrow. Is everybody on board with
Just anywhere on the piece of paper.
yeah, just anywhere, a separate page for each counselor.
Oh, a separate page. Okay.
Yeah.
How big does it need to be?
As big as you can get it. I mean, it doesn't have to fill the whole thing up.
You're gonna try to get John's or?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get John's.
Okay.
Does anybody have any comments or questions about the fundraiser letter? Okay. And there's also a work plan in your packet that Hummel provided to get us through next year into the library opening. I completed and submitted the Business Oregon grant yesterday. There was a pretty detailed supplemental application that required a lot of financial information and attachments, but I got that turned in yesterday. I've completed our final budget request for the Ford Family Foundation. I'll get that turned in this week. We were able to get into the integrated library system to get data on our collections. Based on the reports that I ran, our collections were underutilized, which tells me this is a good opportunity to look at our collections and figure out what the community needs and what they want and what they're going to be checking out. On the park renovation projects, I'd like to have a planning session with the Parks Committee first thing in January to get a sense of their priorities, as well as to firm up some of the details of the tree planting program. East Main Street property, the Lane County Board of Commissioners is going to relinquish the title to the 2 rights-of-way, both on this campus as well as for the 205 East Main Street in January. We have an agenda item later on for that. Also working on firming up the contract with the buyer on some changes they'd like to see. I also have Lane County Sheriff's Office and the City of Oak Ridge scheduled to meet with you in January to talk about the
All right.
to talk about the ongoing conversation on expanding police services in the community. I would encourage as you're talking to your constituents, I would encourage you to invite folks to attend those discussions and emphasize that the purpose of the discussion is to share information. It's not to come and gripe to the sheriff's office or Oak Ridge about what's going on in the community. We're just talking about what an expanded contract would look like.
Did we have the dates on those?
Yes, the sheriff's office will be at your January 4th meeting.
Oh, so on a regular meeting?
Yes, and the Oak Ridge will be at your January 18th.
Oh, okay.
What questions do you have for me?
I have a couple more comments, I guess. When you have your Parks Committee meeting, I think I'd like for you to look at the placement of those shade trees. Right now, all the shade trees are around the perimeter. And the idea was, and it was even brought up in that last meeting by one of the Parks members, that those trees aren't placed so that they'll provide any shade for the kids. So if they can put a line of trees basically to the south side or to the west side of the playground, going out by that gazebo, so that would help shade that one, and also up the south side, so that the sun coming in from the south, we get a lot of south sun in the summertime, and so if they get more closer, because what we had there, we had a monster sycamore tree, I believe, something that was there that shaded that area, and we took that out. But right now, if with all the trees just around the perimeter, that really does nothing for the playground, and that's the idea we'd like to have is to make it more comfortable for the young kids to play. And bring that up. Yes.
I'd like to say, and I think we mentioned that, we talked about this a little bit before, I would advocate for spending more money on larger trees to plant in that area and not plant the standard size trees that we're planting in the rest of the park to gain years on the plantings.
We could have different, I think you could have different sizes to be able to afford it, you can have a couple, 2 or 3 that's a bit larger, that's going to have a more of a full shade. And they'll maybe over by the pad, that covered area, because while it's covered, when you get in the afternoon, it beats you from the west, and so it's uncomfortable there. So, and then it'd be a variety of sizes. I think that could be possible, whatever the Parks Committee, but I think that instead of having them just right along the street, which I don't think really benefits the children, I think they should be all brought in closer to the playground. And if you bring them up on a line going kind of north to south by the playground and out by that picnic table, then you still have that open field to the right out by the street, and also to south over towards Third Street there. So you still have a lot of open space there, but you know, I'd say we'd try to get more when you talk to them, you know, that's my 2 cents.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a follow-up question on that?
Sure.
Note? Would there be any interest in city council in having a joint meeting like we did in October to reach an agreement on this program so we can get moving with it?
I think so. And I think we need Public Works there to know where the holes should be. And I think I saw where there's a possibility of them either renting or buying an auger to post hole digger or whatever. And I don't know what's better or cheaper if it's if you use one quite often, or rent quite often, I'd say buy it. But if we're only going to use it like for Rolling Rock Park and Paul Fisher Park, you know, for a couple of days, then probably better to rent it. So that way you don't ever have to worry about losing. But that's your decision. So, but yeah, I think that whether we want to get Gowdy involved again, but we can see the spacing on here that he put in for the trees, and we can measure out that same amount of space in between here ourselves and go, you know, 40 feet in between them, something like that. I think that we can probably do that without an old one, but I think it just we need to get something rolling on that whenever you guys meet in January. But a combined meeting would be fine. Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say, the value of committees is that they can get down into the trenches and all the details and then come to council, so. I
Sure, that would be best.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. That
prefer
would be
to do a
best.
Joint meeting if needed after that.
Yeah, I don't want to control it. It's for them to put together. But no, I completely agree with her. So. And you had here the buyer had some minor changes to the Main Street. What kind of costs are we talking about there?
It's nothing to have to do with the purchase
Okay,
price.
I mean, we don't have to spend any more money.
That's correct.
Okay, I like those kind of minor changes. And okay, and you're talking about the having the police here on the 4th and the 18th. Need to put that in the bridge and on the Facebook page and at Jimmy's and the fire hall and other kind of stuff. Because it's not necessary that the people be here because you like to get informative, but they can have the Zoom here and they can listen in. I think to make that possible. I think still some people are still a little bit afraid of what's going on out there. Okay, that's my 2 cents. Let me get back on that. And I understand you already have some people hearing about the donations and already offering donations for the library. Good, that's a good thing. So
We're about 10% towards our goal.
good. That's good to hear. So you know, hopefully we'll peak out at that and it'll look good for the Ford Foundation. I see Public Works, but I don't have anything. Do you have anything offhand you want to say?
Couple project updates. So the meters were ordered, they're en route. Quick, the 100 meters you guys approved last meeting. Also, update on the backflow opt-in, opt-out program. Kind of timing on that, you know, it's already started the year. So I drafted a letter. I sat down with Jeremy and drafted a letter to explain it in more detail. And then also have the opt-in, opt-out flyer attached to it, and we're doing door hangers instead of doing mailing. We have plenty of time. We've got everybody taken care of for calendar year 21. So this will be a program that will go live January 1st, 2022. We've had good feedback about already, and then some of the newcomers to town we've spoke to in person. So the program will be in full swing in January. So that part's taken care of. Surprised Jeremy didn't mention anything about it. The Cover Bridge event was this Saturday. Most everybody was there. It was successful, surprisingly, for what short little notice we had. So not counting volunteers and staff and, you know, the Grange people that came, there was about 80 people that were bused. So a little bit over 100 people. So pretty good turnout for what it was. So congratulate and thank everybody for helping. It's a pretty quick turnaround on the event happening. All the decorations are up.
The park looks good.
Thank you. Yeah, Tim, you did an excellent job on choosing that stuff. So looks very good. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I see the trees still at the amphitheater, so that's every day it stays there. I think is just another day of success. So
I agree.
It's a good thing I didn't put it on the roof.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that was, all I saw was on Facebook and goodness.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Next up is the police report. Got some traffic stops I see, and that means municipal court's gonna be busy, so good for us, good for them, good for everybody. Okay, anything else before we get on to the new business? First up is the presentation from Emerald CPA Group. Mr. Bill Trotter. Mr. Cottle, you want to introduce this and speak to it?
Well,
Go ahead, Bill.
okay, my name is Bill Trotter, and I'm a CPA with boy, are we getting feedback problems on the sound?
Not on our end.
You can mute
Oh,
yours.
okay. Sounds a little weird on my end. Let me. Turn this down a little bit, maybe that'll work. Okay, well, the audit went very well this time. Laylee has done a bang-up job of not only putting together the financials for us, but also overseeing the accounting function. We tested revenues, we tested payroll, and we tested disbursements, and we found no material problems with any of it. All of the payroll reports agreed with one another, the state, the federal, the PERS. We looked at disbursements, all the disbursements over $5,000, and found no exceptions as far as everything being properly authorized and entered into the correct accounts. And then we chose a sample of 40 disbursements at random of amounts under 5,000, and they all checked out very nicely. Revenues were properly receipted and recorded. So, looks pretty good.
Good.
And I won't get into what was in the past because I just want to forget about the past. Currently, I think probably Lowell is in excellent shape as far as its financial department and the work that's being done. And you can see by the amount, I firmly believe that once the finances are under control, then that creates opportunities to go out for grants and loans and special projects, because you will know where you are at any given time. Plus, you can project into the next 12 months of where you would reasonably be. So, there are many benefits to having your financial system in order. The opinion on the audit is clean, no exceptions. And the internal control report did not find any material problems. So that's the audit in a nutshell.
Anybody have any questions of Bill? Mr. Cottle, you have any?
I like the tenure or the stats on, I haven't seen that in the past, so I haven't read through it all yet in that time, but I'm kept it, but I'd like to look at that.
I agree. I even mentioned it to him earlier last week, I guess, that it seems like there's a little extra little things to read on the back end of it that either I don't remember reading, or else I'm again taken by what's in there. I go, oh, that's interesting information. So thank you, Bill. Thank you, Laylee. We appreciate this. We've got everything done before December 31st, and we're gonna woo-hoo and go on with this. So we're proud to have it. Thanks to everybody and staff and everything that helped with this. Okay. Yeah, when lady can get off or stay on.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Laylee. Before you go, I'd like to give a shout out to Laylee. The annual financial report is her baby. And the clean opinion that we have is all due to her. So thank you for your hard work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and with Lily doing the financials, I can concentrate on the audit, which is what I'm supposed to be doing in the first place.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank
It's,
you.
it's, I'm never gonna get over how clean it is and be thankful. Because
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just say really quickly on the statistics in the back, I've been adding them little by little as I've been working on doing the audit to get a little bit closer to the Government Finance Officers Association award program. So it's little baby steps in that direction and maybe a little bit bigger chunks now that we have the hard things in the rearview mirror.
Yes, it's beginning to look like a comprehensive annual financial report,
Exactly.
which is the official term, which is kind of one step higher than what we have been getting, rather than just annual financials. This makes it into a comprehensive report.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe someday we'll even get to an accrual basis.
Someday.
Someday, maybe not right away. Let's
Baby steps.
We have
content
goals.
ourselves with a clean cash basis first.
All right.
But truly, you know, I guess some of you have heard my presentations in the past few years. Boy, we have come a long way in 5 years.
very long way.
You got that right. We got it the same year and we didn't have to hear about couldn't balance our fund, not balance our funds, but having to do the cash balances by hand, the calculator and all that. I'm glad.
It's a good day.
Yeah, about all you had were the bank statements. Hey, we got cash. Kind of.
Kind of. All right. Well, thank you very much, all. I will sign off and have a short rest of your meeting.
Okay. So I'll sign off too.
We'll see you
All
now.
right, thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Okay, I'm gonna click the leave button.
Thank you, Bill.
Adios.
It's just joy they get out of accounting. I love it. I
Yeah.
really do. I'm glad somebody likes doing that
No
stuff.
kidding.
It's like one of the first years. We went almost to June of the next year before we ever got the last one done. It was terrible. This is much better. Okay, next up is item 2, having to do with ordinance 305. I think what we want to do first is have the public hearing. Does that sound okay with you, Mr. Cottle?
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, what we're going to do, we're going to recess the regular session at 7:24. We're going to call to order the public hearing at 7:24. Oregon land laws require cities to hold public hearings on certain types of land use decisions. Public hearings are dedicated to items of open consideration heard within regular meetings for which public input is desired. Member of the council may, if they wish, ask questions of the presenters. The matters to be heard today is the ordinance 305, an ordinance to adopt text amendments to the Lowell Development Code to incorporate the Oregon State Model Floodplain Code. First, we'll have Mr. Cowell's presentation on this. Mr. Cowell, you have anything to start off with?
Well, Mr. Mayor, just to introduce the associate planner with Lane Council of Governments, Henry Hurley. He has prepared a report. I'll turn it over to him to make that report. We also have on the call today Amanda Punton with a natural resource specialist with Oregon Department of Land and Conservation Development, who is our local contact with this project. She's on the call as well to answer any questions that you might have. At this time, I'll turn it over to you, Henry.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good evening, City Council. So a few months ago, the City of Lowell was approached by Amanda and DLCD through a community visit program to sort of look at their development code in the floodplain and implement the new model floodplain code. This floodplain code is directed by FEMA, and that's passed down to DLCD to implement at the local level. So what I've done for you and my other colleagues at LCOG is we've incorporated the model floodplain code into the existing code. And as you can see on your agenda item summary, I prepared a memo kind of outlining the exhibits contained in your packet. So I'll go through the exhibits. So Exhibit A is the proposed findings in support of the text amendments. The text amendments have to be supported by findings of fact, and that largely is consistency with the Oregon statewide planning goals and your comprehensive plan. And then Exhibit B is a code matrix showing you the new proposed language and the existing language. And then Exhibit C is a marked up version of the text amendments, color coded. So red text is language that is specific to Lowell. And then green text is language that was not contained in the model code, but was existing in your code and is being translated over. And then black text is all the other text that is mandated by FEMA. And the Exhibit D is the same as the Exhibit C. It's just a clean version, and that's the version that you can expect to see adopted in your code. And then Exhibit E is a resolution that you, City Council, had initiated to authorize the city to go ahead and do these amendments. And then Exhibit S, required by law, we noticed these public hearings. Last week, December 1st, Planning Commission held a public hearing on these text amendments. And they made a recommendation to approve them to City Council, and City Council is the final approval body for these amendments. And then Exhibit G is the ordinance for your consideration tonight. Amanda, I guess I'll introduce Amanda Putton with DLCD. If you want to briefly talk about the community visit program and how this got started, and if there's any questions, you can direct them to myself or Amanda.
Sure, I'll introduce myself and thank you, commissioners, for having me here today. So as Henry explained, what you're being asked to do is coming through me, but it's really being directed by FEMA. And as a participant in the National Flood Insurance Program, Lowell is subject to periodic audits, essentially. And the kind of audit that I've been performing is the kind of the lower level audit that just looks at how staff processes applications for development in the floodplain and provides the newest version of the model code that is developed in cooperation with FEMA. It's mostly FEMA's directions, and then there's some stuff put in there to make it consistent with Oregon State Building Code, because development in the floodplain is also regulated by Oregon State Building Code. I will say that Lowell is has very little floodplain, very little developable land in the floodplain. But because development or redevelopment is allowed in that, small band around the lake, all the language that you see in the code is required. And then I think I'll leave it at that, and just I am available for any questions you might have.
Thanks, Amanda. Jeremy, we'll turn it back over to you and the council.
Any questions for Amanda or for Henry? Go ahead.
I had I love these kind of things when they come up, because I tend to get into it and learn a lot. So I did, and that's very interesting to me since I live in the floodplain. But Henry, and this isn't your problem, but it's something that I'm hoping maybe we can do a simple fix on. At the lead sentence under section 9.62, and it's in your matrix also. It says that the city of Lowell's only floodplain areas along the shore Dexter Reservoir and development in that area is restricted and controlled by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That's partly true, but there's private property in there as well that the city does have jurisdiction over. And I'm hoping that since we're changing some language here, that would be a nice, easy fix to get that clear. Because that caused me a little bit of heartburn, of course, to think that the Corps of Engineers was going to be, dictating what people on private property were going to do there. Certainly they have control over what they're responsible for. And what they enforce. So I'm hoping that might be a simple fix. And then Amanda, I'm glad you're here. I had a question about, it's our town's elderly at this point, and not everything was done probably as tight as it is now. But the boundary itself, we get a lot of conflicting advice on those properties with regard to in or out of that zone, the floodplain. A neighbor who has been here since, I think he bought in the 90s, was clearly 2/3 of his property is in the floodplain, and he built a house in 2011 and was told by the city that he wasn't in the floodplain, and by his insurance company that also did the same maps and said he wasn't in the floodplain, so he didn't have to do flood insurance. So, and I bring this up because there's a vacant piece of property next to me, and I just wonder what that's gonna do. So I've heard tales of this. If you hire an engineer and you go in for, a reevaluation, it changes, but I don't see the map being changed for these changes that have been made for specific properties. And I don't know if that act requires an act of Congress or God or what. A FEMA level, I understand this isn't something that we just take a eraser and, redraw the line. So, but it's just a question. I don't know that whether it's part of this exercise, but I thought, well, I had you as a captive audience, I'd ask you.
Right. No, I hear what you're asking. And so the kind of flood zone that is in Lowell is called an unnumbered A zone. So it doesn't have a flood elevation attached to it. I believe that's right. And but any flood zone is going to be somewhat approximate. There are, in some cases, newer maps that have used better elevation data, so the lines are a little closer to where the edge would be. But essentially, any place where a piece of property is shown in the gray area that designates the city's flood zone, a property owner can approach FEMA with information from an engineer and have the map revised to show if the actual flood plain is not as shown on the map. And those revisions will eventually get put onto the map when the map is updated. But meanwhile, they're kept as letters of map amendment, and those are available from FEMA's mapping website.
Okay, thank you.
Did we get an answer on the
Oh,
first part of your?
I don't know who's, it's Lowell's Cove. It was there prior to this project. So I was just thinking it might be an easy fix to do that. I don't have proposed language or anything like that, but it's inaccurate.
So we're talking about section 9.620, that first paragraph there.
Yeah, I have that pulled up, and that's how it is currently in your code, and that's the way it was in the past. So if you want to change it, I mean, you could, if you want to get rid of it, I guess you could. It's kind of just a purpose statement. not necessarily code.
What if
Or
they
it's kind of
were
like an
to,
introductory.
what if they were to pass
Jeremy?
this ordinance and then strike out under section 9.620 everything in that section after the words Dexter Reservoir? So it'll read, the city of Lowell's only floodplain area is along the shore of Dexter Reservoir.
I think that's fine. Amanda, do you have any objections?
I do not.
Yeah, we can make that amendment. That's fine.
So if Mr. Mayor, if I may, if city council wants to make a motion when we're out of public hearing, I would recommend making a motion as for first reading and approval of ordinance number 305, and ordinance to adopt text amendments to the Lowell Development Code to incorporate the Oregon State Model Floodplain Code with the amendment to section 9.620 to strike out the verbiage after Dexter Reservoir.
Second.
Is that at the top of the?
Yes. Okay, we can do that. We'll do that in regular session, right?
Yes.
Just trying to find it.
Any other questions for Amanda or Henry? Do we have anybody? On Zoom or here that wants to speak for the resolution? Not hearing, not seeing. Anybody want to speak against? Not hearing, not seeing anything. Anything you want to add, Mr. Cottle?
Okay.
Okay. Then the public hearing is closed at 7:37. And the regular session is reconvened at 7:37. So next up, we'll have an ordinance reading, the first reading. And then we'll have a motion for the second reading. And we're not going to have a meeting the latter part this month, right? Our next meeting when we get together for regular session will be January 4th, right?
That's correct.
So that will be the date of our second reading. Okay. Before we go on, every ordinance of the council shall be read fully in an open council meeting on 2 different days. Any of the readings may be by title only if no council member requests to have the ordinance read in full, or if a copy of the ordinances is provided for each council member, and 3 copies are provided at the public for public inspection at City Hall, and there was written notice posted at the City Hall and 2 other public places in the city, or by advertisement in the local newspaper of general circulation in the city. Were those things done, Mr. Cottle?
Yes.
Okay, so the amendment, the ordinance can be read for first reading by title only if it's requested that way. Do we have an amendment that we would like to add to the ordinance? We'd like to amend the order, the ordinance for section, I make a motion, we amend the ordinance for section 9.6-20 to exclude everything after Dexter Reservoir. Does that sound proper?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Have a discussion. All those in favor of amending the ordinance 305 to read for section 9.6-20 that all the sentence after Dexter Reservoir be excluded, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do we have someone make a motion to have the ordinance 305 read by title only? Okay,
So moved.
okay,
Second.
okay. Maureen and Gail. Okay, ordinance 305, an ordinance to adopt text amendment to section 9.620 of the Lowell Development Code and to incorporate the state of Oregon Model Floodplain Code as directed by FEMA and DLCLD. Okay. Do we have a motion for the second reading on January 4th?
I'll make a motion to have a second reading of ordinance 305 on January 4th.
Okay, and we have a second by Maureen, okay? And do we need a motion for the second reading? We're going to do it anyway. All those in favor of the second reading on January 4th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, everybody's for it. Oh, next up on page 248. The resolution 305 was much shorter than, it was just 2 pages, but I didn't. But thank you for the people. Next up is motion to approve resolution 772, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to finalize real property transaction with Lane County. Mr. Cottle, you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Amanda.
Hey, Henry.
And
Thank you very much. You are very efficient. Let me know if there's anything else I can do for you.
sounds good. Thank you.
Go on.
High praise. Oh, back to whenever we get the next packet for that resolution 305, you'll have a red line struck through that particular section that we amended out.
Yes, I'll have it in a minute.
Okay. Good. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so we're on to resolution 772.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm requesting city council approval of resolution 772. This resolution would authorize me to finalize the right-of-way transactions with Lane County. Pictures of the rights-of-way are included in the packet. So we have the one that's north of West Boundary Road, which is on this campus. One the south of West Boundary Road, which is on 205 East Main Street. The Lane County Public Works Department has informed me that the Lane County Board of Commissioners is scheduled to vote on this on January the 4th, I believe it is. I'm requesting your authorization for me to execute the legal documents to transfer title to these properties, as well as to exercise our option to purchase the right-of-way south of West Boundary Road and to pay to Lane County the purchase price for that. Also, the acquisition of the right-of-way on the southern part of West Boundary Road is one of the last pieces that we need to finalize the sale of 205 East Main Street for Lowell Investment Properties.
I have a short question. What time do they meet?
I don't know, but I'll find out for
I
you.
was going to say, we're pretty busy on the 4th already, so.
It's in the morning.
Oh, it's in the morning. Okay, cool. Then we'll know by afternoon how things went.
And I'd like to be there, and if a member of council wants to be there as well, just let me know.
I'd like to show up.
Okay.
I'd like to see them in action.
Okay.
I get to see some of those people at my meetings. Okay, do we have a motion for resolution 772?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 772, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to finalize real property transactions with Lane County.
We have a second? We have a motion and a second. Okay, for a motion to approve resolution 772, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to finalize real property transaction with Lane County. Further discussion, questions? Not seeing, not hearing. All those in favor of motion to approve resolution 772, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to finalize real property transaction with Lane County, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Good. Next is 253. Next up is authorization city administrator to submit a national fire plan. Mr. Cowell, please speak to this.
I'm asking for city council approval for us to work with the Oregon Department of Forestry, for them to come out and give us some free help, to do some thinning, some fuel reduction, some tree removal for the rail property south of the Sunridge subdivision, as well as up on the hill. They'll also do some blackberry stuff. They can't do the entire property, and they're going to focus on everything from the railroad bed up. They're not going to go from the railroad bed down to the road. Okay. But they, even though they can't do the whole thing, they can do the biggest priority work to make sure that those houses are safe up there as free help. And I'll give a shout out to the Firewise community up there. They brought this to my attention. They set up a meeting with me, coordinated to get the forester to meet with me last week. I met with the forester on Monday, and we did a walk through that property. So I'll give a shout out to them, because this wouldn't be on the agenda tonight if not for their initiative.
I believe you had a minimum clearing bid for 38,000 for that area, which I don't think included all as much as going to be done by the forest people. Well, this is a big savings for the city, and it's in compliance with the Railroad Corridor Park plan that was developed. So they're all pluses there. Okay. Any questions? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city administrator to submit a national fire plan grant application with the Oregon Department of Forestry.
We have a motion, and we have a second by Maureen. Okay. The motion to authorize the city administrator to submit a national fire plan grant application with the Oregon Department of Forestry. This one, we have a natural break between the trees down below and up on the hill from the Nelson Folly was given to us. That's grass and weeds and stuff, but it's not trees, so it's a little bit more controllable. The houses on Wetlow, or if you're familiar with where Burford lived, where Berlin lived, and the property next to that, that city owns that, and those trees come right up to their property line. So it'll be, if you walk that perimeter there, their property line, it's like that way, so they're going to be trimming quite a few trees back to give a 20-foot break, 30-foot break, but it's dangerous looking work. It's dangerous looking just going off the side of it. So I wouldn't, I didn't even consider it. I do funny things. Once it's cleared out, the park corridor, the part of the plan was to put benches in there, tables in there. And for the summertime, it's probably going to be the coolest place in town, temperature wise, to go have a picnic, park, whatever, and to go up in there to get away from because all our other parks have so much sun, they get beat down. It's very nice in there. In years past, a lot of the ladies used to walk through there, but it got so grown up, and they don't do anymore. But on the other end of it is still county, and that's still overgrown. And so I don't know that really anybody hardly ever uses it anymore. So this will open it up for a lot of people to use. And it's like I say, I know the people, Tom and Carrie, that was heading this, and I appreciate their work. Any other comments or anything? Okay, all those in favor of motion to authorize the city administrator to submit a national fire plan grant application with the Oregon Department of Forestry, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We'll get a Mr. Cottle. Okay. Next up. Yes. Gift cards, I believe. Let me just get it straight, make sure I'm correct here.
You skipped the retreat.
Oh, annual planning retreat. You're right. On 255, book one. Okay. Okay, established a date in January 22 for an annual council planning retreat. Mr. Cottle, speak to this.
A new year is an opportune time for us to come up with our priorities. What we want to work on in the year ahead. I'm requesting or recommending that city council pick a Saturday in January for us to have a retreat for about 3 or 4 hours. And I have an exercise that I've used in the past that can help you come up with a list of your priorities and order those. And once we have an agreement on that, put it in a resolution to vote on, and that's our game plan for the year ahead. We can get some bagels in the morning, some coffee. If it goes over, we can have some lunch. I'll work out the details. You let me worry about that. But I think it'll be a good exercise for us. It'll build some teamwork and help us have a good plan for the year ahead. It'll also tie in with the budget process. That'll give me my marching orders as I prepare the recommended budget. I'm suggesting the 15th or the 29th. What do you all think?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is that is 6 months to the budgetary cycle. So are we off? I mean, I think it's good to maybe do this as an exercise, but are we off kilter a little bit, maybe with the timing? To be, I mean, it would seem to me that like a May-June timeframe before the budget comes out in July would be a good time so that you have a year budgetary cycle aligned with your priorities versus crossing over. So for the first 6 months of this, that we come up with our planning, we're still living off of last year's budget that's already been set. So we can actually only prioritize projects and fund them from July on with the decisions that are made in this meeting to some extent.
If it's all based
We do the
on,
budget in March, though.
Okay, well, then
So that's why we do the priorities, then you do the budget, then
Yeah,
you
I was
get to
gonna
go
say.
back.
but we do the budget, but the budget doesn't start until July, correct?
Yeah, but you set the money according to what your priorities are in March. So you
Right.
need to have those priorities in advance of that.
He'll come back to the budget committee
Yeah.
in March
That's like-
with a full packet. Full packet saying this is what this is where the council's going, this is where the city's going. So he really needs to
That makes
start.
sense. No, I get it.
Because like you said, if we set the priorities, then you've got a whole
Yeah.
head start
No,
on.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's just, you know.
It's where it's at.
Take a little longer.
yeah,
And to that point, these are priorities that'll, it'll go through 2022. It'll go into 2023 as well. And then this time next year, we'll be gearing up for the next budget cycle. So you're right, it is kind of off kilter, but
Well, as long as it's in focus with the budget itself, that's what I want.
Because we don't do the budget in June.
Yeah, because
It's
there's
too
no
late.
sense in having it, so we make plans that we can't fund,
and I.
so. So that makes perfect sense to me. I just wanted to make sure those things were in line with the timing of those so that we can actually do the things we set out to do.
And nothing's carved in stone. I mean, if some big opportunity comes in, the council as a group decides, boy, we better jump on something else, and that becomes a priority. It's not,
You can change course.
yeah.
And I was gonna say,
Yeah, it's
and
not
I see
locking it in. You
I
can't
see
do
the
anything else.
importance of the budget, but there's also the whole idea of focus through the year. It's not all about budget, so.
Well, the budgets fund activities, I think is what,
Well, yes, I get it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying there's kind of both sides of that. So to do it at the beginning of the year probably makes sense as well.
Well, he'll have a list of priorities, projects and things like that we say, this is our list, and here's our, and so he can start plugging it in, and he can come back to us and say, yes, we can, or no, we can't. And the other thing is that he's coming up on his 18th month, which will be his next review. So next July or August, we'll be needing to write a review or having a review of him. And so these will be priorities that will also be in that review. So we need to be telling him what he should be doing we gave him goals for the first year to get to here. And now for this next 6 months, we need to say, okay, these are our, if we go with the same goals as before, he may continue to work on something that where we've already turned the corner and gone another direction. So he needs to know where we're going. And I think it helps the council that we all on the same page. This is the direction we want to go. If we say yes for this, no for that, then we need to have that discussion. And this would probably be the best time where we can sit down and we can talk back and forth and say, okay, this is more important than that. That's more important than this. Let's, or we want, however it comes out. I think we need to have that discussion for him and his sanity and my sanity. It's, so.
Would that be here?
Mine goes out.
Would that be here?
Well, it's a retreat. I was thinking Hawaii. Is that too
You can
exorbitant?
get there on
Today,
$600.
I've got a P card.
You're gonna put us in a UPS package and send us over.
No, it'll probably, this would be a good spot for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pick up some
Yeah.
breakfast stuff or something.
The only thing I just want to point out, it matters not to me, is that the 15th, that's a 3-day weekend for some. 17th is Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay.
So just a thought.
4 day week.
Good point.
Yeah, 4-day for some. It doesn't matter to me. I'm.
Well, what about the 29th?
That probably works. I have to say, my only fear is I have a grandson wrestling and I have no clue what so I'll just have to make it for them.
Okay.
The 5th Saturday of the month. Okay. So far, so good.
For what?
We check with John on
Well,
that.
he
but,
wrestles for Pleasant Hill.
Okay.
like I say, this is time for us all to get on the same page, and that's important. We want to be on the same page, There's no need
Do you
having.
feel like we're not, Mr. Mayor?
Pleasant Hill doesn't
Yeah,
have a
sometimes,
scheduled pass the field.
Sometimes I
They're
get
wrestling.
caught in the creases. Okay, so we're good on that one? Okay, now that I'm back on the right page, motion to authorize the purchase of gift cards to city employees. Mr. Cottle.
We have a great team.
Yeah.
I am proud to come to work every day and to work alongside our team. As I was driving into town tonight and I saw the snowflakes up and the bridge decorated and the stage. That guy did it.
Yeah.
Hunter, Nick. We've been really busy this year, but everybody's had an amazing attitude. Haven't had any COVID problems. Man, we're lucky.
Mhm.
And I just think it'd be good to show our appreciation by approving a $100 gift card. And I'm asking for your support to do that.
Yeah, I would just throw in that I think that's so appropriate, not only because they deserve it, period, but I think we've done $50 forever. It's time.
We did 100 last year.
Oh, did we?
Yeah,
Oh,
we upped it to 100.
sorry, I forgot. Imagine. Anyway, I think it's a good idea.
Super. Anybody want to make a motion?
I think with the cost of living and stuff, I would propose that we go to 125 this year.
I have to agree that I think they're probably going to get taxed on that 100, right?
It'll be included in income, yes.
Yeah, so
I think.
we need to
125 is
offset some of
appropriate
that,
number.
possibly
They can't
the
hardly
tax
buy
part of it.
roofs for that anymore.
I think it's a good idea. You haven't bought them yet, have you?
No, sir.
Okay. Tim, would you like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of gift cards for the city staff, or the city administrator, at the amount of $125 per employee.
Okay, we have a motion, second by Maureen. Further discussion? All those in favor of motion to authorize the purchase of $125 gift cards for the city employees signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Yeah. And they do deserve it. You guys, they do great work. You know, you don't have to worry about anything. They just,
You got that right.
well, they just plug
Well,
along.
I really like to push for the continuity. I mean, I'm so happy with the direction we're going with maintaining the staff and not having turnover.
Yeah.
And I think that, as you know, I think any employee appreciates the small things once in a while. They add up over the years, and when you're trying to make those decisions about where you're going, maybe with your career or something, sometimes a small thing may affect that decision more than one might think. And I've watched a lot of people, especially in like Nick and Hunter's position, come and go as the years have gone by. And I'd like to motivate them to reward us by the training that we're and investment we're making in them. That return comes back to us, and we don't have to start from scratch again. So I think these kind of things are important for that.
I agree. We have a great staff and we definitely want to keep them and do what we need to keep them. Okay. Other business? Okay, mayor comments. I do have some this time.
Can I say one more thing before you start, Mr. Mayor?
What's that?
I was thinking, I was talking to Max down at the Bridge Lake ceremony. And I know that I mentioned growing the decorations in the park and stuff. And we may have an opportunity for some after Christmas sales to save some money for the city. I think my goal next year would be to maybe try to get the gazebos lit up and maybe the bath or the restroom. And Max and I had talked about one of the trees in the park is already, maybe even two of them, that big redwood's on Devereaux's old property. To maybe go out and purchase some more lights after Christmas and see if we can get offered, anywhere from a third to 60% savings on the purchase of those. And that may be a good window to do that. Just some general lights, not necessarily the kind of decorations we bought from Temple, but just some general larger C9s or bigger lights for those locations. And we could set it at maybe the amount that we can do without council action or something, I think if we say, if we can maybe like. Look at
His
maybe-
limit is $5,000.
Yeah, something in that neighborhood. I don't think we'll even hit that, but so that we can take advantage.
I think
of
that's a
that.
good idea.
Yeah.
It makes a statement whenever people go drive through town and see the lights and how well everything looks. It's, this is a town that cares. So I agree with you. Where do they have 60% off? Home Depot, Jerry's, or?
A lot of places.
Okay.
Well, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
start watching now.
Oh, absolutely.
Seriously, because by the day after Christmas, a lot of times lights are gone.
Yeah, as I do. So
And
I'm a
so they
late
can be
Christmas
hard to
shopper. I'm a
get.
late Christmas shopper, so I'll be going in this weekend. and
Yeah,
next weekend.
I
Absolutely.
just wanted to, I've
Yeah.
looked for lights sometimes after Christmas and they're already gone. So
We'll leave it up to Max. He can,
just,
You
I
can
I was thinking maybe Max and I could make a trip in on a Friday. I have Fridays off. You work Fridays, man?
Yeah, 'cause
Maybe
they'll-
maybe Max and
places will
I
start
could
putting
run it
stuff
in the
on
morning and
sale.
hit up a couple places and meet up at like Jerry's and Home Depot or Jerry's and Walmart. I don't know yet. Walmart's kind of not, they're already done.
that's Christmas Eve, so. Friday.
Not this
24.
Friday.
But anyway, I wanted to mention that because we won't be having another meeting until then. So I'll work with Jeremy and Max on Friday.
Yeah, we aren't having our next meeting, correct? So we don't have one for the rest of December. Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure I have that.
I just wanted everybody to know that was kind
Yeah,
of.
I agree
No,
with
that's
you,
a great
Claire.
idea.
I think it's a great idea. Okay, this all comes from the mayor's roundtable I had in November. It's mayors of Lane County get together and go over some things and just some of the highlights and not the whole thing. But one thing was brought up by LCOG was they reviewed their IT plan and found out if they were a victim of a cyber attack after they paid the ransom, it would take 2.7 months for them to get back online. Because once they get the information back, it's in no order. You just have to go and start plugging and plugging. The alternative is to pay $35,000, I think it was the year, to a provider, gives you 48-hour capability. So I think they went with that. It just, they said they couldn't be down for that long. Coburg is starting a $3.5 to $4 million water expansion project. They're putting in a new well and water lines. Homelessness, you know, we see it some around here, but the big cities are seeing it even more. Couple things that came up, something I wasn't aware of. They have what they call a 15-night program. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a teen intervention program. After 15 nights, teens are considered lost to the street and its vices. Several elected officials are taking in at-risk teens. Some of them they've explained it worked out real well. Some of them it didn't. In drug rehab for the people that's on the street, to the limited number of slots in rehab, it's a 2-year wait for re-entry once someone drops out. They, you know, you've gone in once, you've been tried, you've left, come back in 2 years, we'll let you sign up and get you back in there. You know, the other was Crestwell has its 3rd new mayor in a year. Dave Stram was appointed. They had one quit. He wanted something. They wouldn't give it to him. He left. The other mayor got in trouble, and I didn't even realize that they were out. You know, you hear these the Proud Boys. You know, that's Portland. But evidently, the mayor got into a thing with them, and it didn't turn out good. But Dave Stram has served 2 terms down there. He went in about 10 years ago and took over a real angry council. He lost 15 council members in 2 years. They have 7 on their council. So he lost complete council twice, basically. But for Dave, I will say he's a real role model for any mayor. I saw him the first time, and I think Maggie and myself, we just got elected. We didn't know a whole lot about anything. We went over there, and there was like this. There was probably 20 people in there, whatever. Dave went around. He shook hands with everybody, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool, you know. And he came over to me and said hi, and he asked who I was. And I told him, you know, a story about Maggie and everything. And I said, I don't know. I think he may have offered even can we talk afterwards? And I said, sure. So he went through the council very smooth. There was a lot of this going on, but he kept it under control. And he got through, and he started talking to me, and he said, well, what's your experience in government? And I said, I don't have any. And you know, whenever you see somebody's look on their face where they say, oh, you poor soul, you know, I saw that in his eyes, you know. But I have to admit, I went down to 2 or 3, maybe 4 meetings over time down there with him. And some of them, there was a lot of conflict down there for police, for water, for all kinds of things going on. But he ran a good show. He kept it under control, really tough. And he's back in there now. He was a pastor before, so he knew how to, I think, stay calm. So it was. He's a good mentor for anyone that gets in a governmental type position. So I really, I'm glad they have who they have down there. So he's a good man. Anything else for the council? Public comments, anything? Okay. If not, we're adjourned at 8:08. Merry Christmas, and see you all next year.
Merry Christmas.
Did your son wrestle?